Without a doubt, the GTX 750 Ti is one of my favorite ultra-budget graphics cards of all time. In so many ways, the 750 Ti epitomized what an ultra-budget, entry-level GPU should be, checking every box along the way, in terms of price, performance, and form factor. It also laid the groundwork for future entry-level NVIDIA cards like the 1050 Ti and the 1650 Super, just as the PC gaming craze began to heat up in 2014. In today's video, we're going to take a look back at the 750 Ti to see what made this card so important for the ultra-budget GPU market, and we're also going to check out how this card performs in late 2020.
Welcome back to Tech 215. I'm your host, Nick. I certainly need a haircut, but I'm so glad you guys could join me for today's video. We're going to take a look back at one of my favorite ultra budget cards, the GTX 750 Ti. And you're probably asking yourself, Nick, with all these amazing new graphics cards from NVIDIA and AMD coming out, why are you covering a card that is nearly 6 years old? Because like I said before, it's one of my favorite budget GPUs of all time. It's still relevant even in 2020, and in so many ways, this card was a pioneer in the ultra budget GPU space, which I'm going to explain to you later on in the video. But before we get into all that, guys, let's take a quick peek under the hood to check out the specs of the GTX 750 Ti.
The GTX 750 Ti was released in February of 2014 as part of NVIDIA's 700 series line of GPUs, codenamed Maxwell. The card debuted with an original MSRP of $149.99, giving ultra-budget-minded gamers a super affordable way to get their foot in the door of the world of PC gaming. At the heart and soul of the 750 Ti is the 28nm GM107 die fabricated by TSMC. The die measures in at 148mm squared and features 1.87 billion transistors. The 750 Ti has a base clock speed of 1020 MHz with a boost clock speed of 1085. The budget GPU also features 640 shading units, or as NVIDIA refers to them as CUDA cores, 40 texture mapping units, and 16 ROPs. For memory, the 750 Ti only comes with 2GB of GDDR5 on a 128-bit memory bus and has a memory clock speed of 1350 MHz. The card supports DirectX 12, OpenGL, OpenCL, and of course, the Vulkan API. It also has support for PCI Express Gen 3.0 and has a very low estimated TDP of only 60 watts. The 750 Ti also supports NVIDIA's proprietary technologies, including NVIDIA GameStream, GPU Boost 2.0, CUDA acceleration, adaptive VSync, G-Sync, Ansel, and Shadowplay. The rear I/O features one DisplayPort, one HDMI, and one DVI-D connector, while some models offer two DVI-D connectors, supporting a max of 4 displays at once. Representing the GTX 750 Ti today is Gigabyte's dual-fan WindForce OC and the single-fan Zotac Mini. And although I'm no longer in possession of the card, we also have the 750 Ti low-profile version from MSI, and it's been featured in a couple videos here on the channel.
So there's a few things that really make the GTX 750 Ti special, and the first thing is obviously the price. When it was released in early 2016, it had an original MSRP of $149.99, making it perfect for those that wanted to get into the world of PC gaming, but didn't quite have the budget. It performed relatively the same and went blow for blow with the consoles at the time, the PS4 and the Xbox One, especially in games like Metal Gear Solid, Tomb Raider, GTA 5, and The Witcher 3. One of the most impressive things in my eyes about this card was the fact that, like our Zotac model here today, the card did not require a 6 or an 8-pin power adapter. So it was a perfect budget GPU that had the capability to be plugged into an older computer that maybe had a power supply with a super low wattage, or maybe it was missing the 6 or 8-pin power adapters that came from the PSU. And finally, the one characteristic that made this card revolutionary and a bit of a pioneer was the fact that it came in not only the normal size form factor with a 6-pin and without a 6-pin, but it also came in a small form factor version, also known as half height. Whether you had a normal gaming PC with an updated power supply, or you had an OEM from Dell, Lenovo, or HP, whether it was a mini tower or it was a small form factor, you could simply plug this card in, and just like that, you could turn your old office machine into a decent budget gaming PC. Best part about this all was NVIDIA would stick with this formula when in 2016 they released the follow-up to the 750 Ti, the GTX 1050 and the GTX 1050 Ti. Then in 2017 they would release an even more budget GPU, the GT 1030, which came in normal size and small form factor. And then later down the road in 2018, when NVIDIA released its touring architecture, they released the GTX 1650 and the GTX 1650 Super, which again came in all three variations. So it may sound crazy to call the GTX 750 Ti revolutionary, but in so many ways it was, because it spawned some really great cards. The 1050 Ti and the 1650 and 1650 Super. These were just absolutely great cards that helped people that were on a super low budget get themselves into the world of PC gaming. So you heard me talk and talk, but now it's time for the GTX 750 Ti to walk the walk. We're gonna run some benchmarks to see how this card performs in late 2020.
On our test bench today, we'll be pairing the GTX 750 Ti with the Intel i5-10400, 16 gigabytes of Corsair Vengeance LPX DDR4 3200 MHz memory. For our game drive, we'll be using a Samsung Evo 860 500GB SSD, and it's all sitting on the Gigabyte Z490 Micro ATX Gaming X motherboard. First up, as always, is Unigine Heaven, set to high, where at stock our budget GPU saw a score of 47 FPS and a score of 1205, but with the heavy overclock applied, we saw the number spike up to 56 and saw an over 200 point swing with a score of 1414. Moving on to a much more difficult benchmark to run, 3D Mark's Firestrike, where the 6-year-old GPU struggled quite a bit, averaging only around 6 FPS in this absolute chop fest. At stock, we saw a graphics score of 4302 and a combined score of 1669, and when OC'd, we saw a graphics score of 4371 and a combined score of 1801. Let's look at some games, and first up is the brand new title from EA, Star Wars Squadron, and at the recommended settings of low, the 750 Ti had a very impressive showing, racking up 68 FPS at stock, jumping all the way up to 80 FPS when OC'd. I was shocked at how smooth and playable this dogfighting combat game was, to say the very least. Next up was Riot's free game to play, the first-person shooter Valorant, where at low settings we saw an average FPS of 307, and when OC'd we saw an absolute huge jump in performance, all the way up to 388 average FPS. These esports titles are easy to play, but I was still very impressed at the super high frame rate we got and the all-around smooth gameplay from the 750 Ti. Next up, we have Fortnite with a mix of mainly medium to low settings. We had a super smooth run here, where at stock settings we hit an average of 89 FPS, and when we overclocked the GPU, we saw the score jump all the way up to 97 FPS. Again, very smooth gameplay from the GTX 750 Ti. But we really wanted to push our 750 Ti to the limits, and we tested one of the hardest games to play right now in the PC game universe, Red Dead Redemption 2, and with all the settings set to low, we averaged at stock 23 FPS, and when overclocked we saw it jump up to 26 FPS. We had some stuttering even with a quality 6-core 12-thread Intel CPU, but simply the 2GB of VRAM was not enough for a game of this caliber. But if you want to play this game at a higher frame rate with this card, you definitely have to scale down the resolution way down. Maybe 1200 by 800 would be good enough. And I think this card, in closing, is still great for easier to play titles, but some of the newer modern AAA titles definitely require a lot more horsepower and certainly a lot more VRAM.
So as you can see, in late 2020, this card still can perform really great in some esports titles, and even in some newer titles like we did today. You might have to adjust the settings down to low and medium, but at least if you guys are struggling to find a newer card in stock right now, because pretty much all stock is empty right now. It looks like around January, we're gonna get stock of everything back in, and prices are absolutely through the roof. Maybe if you're building a new gaming PC, and this goes out to all you parents out there who are trying your best to build your kid a brand new gaming PC for Christmas, you guys can certainly go out and buy something like a GTX 750 Ti or even like a 780. I know the GTX 750 Ti's go from anywhere between 30 and 60 bucks. It would certainly be a great card to hold you over until you got that new card that AMD and NVIDIA has put out and prices kind of go back to normal. That's all the time we have for today. I really hope you guys enjoyed today's video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. These videos take a lot of work and I would really appreciate it. It lets YouTube know that you're enjoying my content and you want to see more of it. If you really like today's content, be sure to hit the subscribe button down below and enable notifications so you get notified the second I put out a new video. If you guys are still using the GTX 750 Ti in your daily driver, leave it down in the comments below. I want to know out there how many of you guys are still using this amazing ultra budget GPU. But again, that's all the time we got for today, guys. I really hope you enjoyed it. If I don't hear from you, have a Merry Christmas, but I should be back in about a week with more tech content.